This is Muriro on Monday on Star FM. Muriro on Monday. Brace yourself. It's a hard hat area.
It is 6 minutes after 7 o'clock, and many thanks to Senzo Mpofu for giving us now Indaba. The news team is back at 8 o'clock with the last bulletin of the day. I am Linda Muriro, and thank you for tuning to Star FM and making us your station of choice. Now, tonight we are having a postmortem of the just ended Zimbabwe International Trade Fair, ZITF 65th edition, and I'm joined virtually by the ZITF company chairman, Busisa Moyo, as well as Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce, ZNCC Chief Executive Officer Chris Mugaga, and economist Professor Gift Mugano. And in studio we have another economist, Dr. Nyasha Kaseke. I see your messages coming through, and shortly I will be reading those messages on 0772-162-651. We will also open the phone lines at 0714-414-413, so you can take note of those numbers for you to be part of this discussion. Now, Busisa, coming back to you before I go to the economists, it is a question that we have that some of our listeners are asking on our studio WhatsApp platform. As far as investment or trade deals that were signed as a result of this year's fair, do we have figures as of now as how many deals were signed at this just ended fair that benefit Zimbabwean companies or at the nation or the nation at large, and how these translate to the development of the broader economy? Busisa, I hope your mic is unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, no, I was saying that thanks to your show last year, or the listeners did call in, if you remember last year. I think it was the same three colleagues. I don't know whether it's consistency or you're now just talking to your generation. We need a few young voices here on your show. But we have acceded to that request for information. It is being compiled, but we do have some data, even as of now. For example, we've asked people, were there any agreements that were signed? And so far, I can just pick a few because I'm looking at the dashboard here. Partnership agreements were signed. I think of the respondents, 4 responded to say they signed significant agreements. Those significant agreements include MOUs. There's an advertising company that I think they're in advertising that they signed up for billboard space and outdoor advertising, partnership agreements. We also did ask for the types of transactions that people, but this is ongoing because a lot of the people are still compiling the figures. You notice that during trade fair, people have, several sales reps, manning stands. But I can tell you that of our respondents, close to 4% recorded transactions over 10 million. 4% of respondents so far. 7.4% responded that they had concluded deals worth between 10,000 and 50,000 United States dollars. This is just at the moment. We also have SMEs. Our SME category, 33% recorded that they signed deals between under $1,000, between $1 and $1,000. We also ask, companies whether they recorded no deals, 0 deals. 40% of the companies respondents so far say they didn't record any leads or any deals. So the balance of 60% or 59.3% recorded transactions. But you realize that, some of these are NGOs. I did tell you that the private sector split. 59% of our exhibitors were from the private sector. 41% were from public sector. That's another statistic that, the public would be interested in. Our target is to have 75% from the private sector, 25% from the public sector. But that 25% are the enabling economic agencies, ZIDA, Zim Trade, for example, ZNCC, they could report that they signed a deal or signed an agreement, but not necessarily generated an order. So that's why you have this statistic. But it's very important for listeners. We've got a survey. We are still collecting in data as people settle back in their offices, compile their figures. But I'm pleased to report that 60% of the companies that have responded so far say they clinched the deal or they got a lead and generated potential business. I can also tell you, Chris said, I can't remember, I think he said he visited between 30, did you say 30, at least 30 stands, Chris? Was that correct? Chris falls between the category of 23% of our respondents so far. This is delegates, not exhibitors, that have responded to our survey. 23% were in Chris's category. They visited 21 to 30 stands. Let's look at the higher number, over 51 stands. How many people visited over 51 stands? 15% of our respondents so far reported that they visited over 51 stands. So this is the kind of data that we have been able to collect, I'm sure much to the delight, and we'll be publishing all these later on this week. We've given colleagues, some are going back to Botswana, driving back. Some are still pulling down their stands at ZITF, so compiling figures may take a bit of time. So that's what we have for the moment. I just bring this up so that people don't think I'm postponing, statistics that we haven't compiled.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Busisa. And Professor Mngano, some impressive stats being shared by the ZITF company chairman there. From your perspective, Professor Mngano, is Zimbabwe deriving maximum benefit from the ZITF? In the past, you have chaired the Zimtrade board, which is the National Trade Development and Promotion Organization. Are we getting maximum benefit as a country from ZITF, Professor Mngano?
Thank you very much, Linda, for that pertinent question. Can you confirm that you can hear me?
Loud and clear.
Wonderful. That's a very important question for Zimbabwe, and also to give feedback to the chairman. But I want to start by appreciating my brother, Busisa. His last remark, particularly where he was sharing the questions. You recall, Linda, last year, if I'm not mistaken, we had a similar conversation, and I raised a submission that we need to get the numbers of data metrics of major indicators of how the trade fair has been performing. And he gave us preliminary data, and that's quite useful. It shows that you're very responsive, and you're also a listening leader, and that we should appreciate. Now, coming back to your question, I think the critical thing is that, first thing is that when we are meeting in one fora, a ZITF at a trade fair, and building on my understanding of the importance of trade fair, being a professor of international trade and also having on the board of Zitf for 5 years, I've noted that there are direct positive impact and indirect positive impacts, which then give you collective gain as a country. So the starting point is that when we are meeting as a people and we are converging in talking business, is good for country image building. That's not quantifiable. You can't quantify it. I like the activities coming from the diplomatic quarters, particularly the American embassies, British embassies, and other embassies. It actually feel effort in international engagement, which is quite critical. And I think even not just attending the events and activities which are taking place are positive for pushing for international engagement. And that's very important. We must not lose focus of that. We should build on that, and we should also pick on what they're saying. But now, coming back to the real economic issues, building on the numbers given by my brother, the starting point is that we are looking at a country, not a company. Zimbabwe is close to $30 billion economy. So ideally, we should get hard numbers of several millions of dollars, if not billions of deals which are being signed at the trade fair. But it's a trade and investment fair, in my view, because you should be able to clinch even investors coming into Zimbabwe. So I think that's an area which I want to challenge the chairman and also line ministries and also ZNCC, CZI, to think around how can we use this critical platform for attracting international investors and traders and local traders and investors to sign big deals. For me, I've concerns if 60% of traders could not clinch deals, then it means in terms of hard numbers and looking at Zimbabwe being a difficult economy in terms of the cost of doing business, one would spend money going and paying for stands, staying in a hotel, and you don't come back with the money when we have a liquidity crunch. So we need to improve in terms of deals. I want to submit my experience in Zimtrade as I give each other time. That at Zimtrade, our management used to hire consultants who then provide what I call matchmaking, and also before the trade fair, when they go for a trade fair, they identify possible buyers, matchmaking buyers and sellers, so that at the end of the day, you can actually expect a deal before you go there. I would want to hear from the chairman if they are doing that, because when we then meet as a board and we look for value for money and say, did we make money out of this trade fair? Our CEO, Alan Majuru, then report in his management to us as a board and say, this trade fair, we made so much amount of money and it would make millions of dollars. So that's what I think we might want to look at if it is happening as ZITF. I'm more worried about deals. We want to see headline deals, which breaks the media and say, headline news, say we clinched a $500 million deal. And so I'm talking about improving. So for me, it's more like a gentleman's club. We are going to the ITF. I'm sorry to say so. But what is real stuff which can create jobs and take people out of the informal sector? That question has not been answered from this discussion and previous discussion and submit, Linda.
All right, so the phone lines are buzzing, and before I bring in our listeners to this discussion, I will come to Dr. Kaseke in our studio. We heard there earlier on, Dr. Kaseke, Chris talking about the need or the concern rather, where most of the negativity around the ZITF and similar platforms have been from within, from us, which has also contributed to that negative image that we are trying to address. And one local business weekly at some point ran a screaming headline, and I quote, ZITF turns into annual ritual than a trade fair. Some of the sentiments expressed in the article were that apart from changing themes, there were no innovations or initiative to introduce exciting activities to the fair. Is this a fair assessment? And obviously I will ask Busisa and Chris to also respond to this. But what do you make of this assessment?
Thank you very much, Linda, for that question and all those arguments. If you could look in terms of our 65th ZITF, there were universities exhibiting there, and if I could reckon our vice president, Dr. Shueng, have actually said that I'm happy with the innovation that I'm seeing from the universities. And this really reflects that there are a lot of innovations that are going on there. What I could only say and argue there is that did the universities go there with IPs for those innovations that they've been exhibiting? Because this is where some of these exhibitions are actually stolen. That may be one of the negative aspect if they've not actually secured the IPs for the innovation that they're trying to exhibit. But if you could look in terms of also what the president of Mozambique have said when he was official opening the ZITF and saying that Zimbabwe, you can make use of Beira corridor or Mozambique corridor in terms of doing international trade. This on its own is a true reflection that we can maximize indirectly or directly on our export using Mozambique or using the Beira corridor. And this would be a positive in terms of what we expect whenever we want to export products from Zimbabwe. Then if you look in terms of other deals that have been signed through the memorandum of the Indaba that have been conducted between Zimbabwe and India, which was close to about 600 million memorandum that have been signed. This on its own actually tricks a positive development in terms of what is happening in terms of Zimbabwe and other countries. So yes, us as Zimbabwean, we can pull ourselves down, but remember there are also other international countries which are also looking at us positively, which is a very good positive development in terms of whatever we expect to be doing as a country.
All right, and the phone lines, I will now take calls on 0772-162-651, 0714-414-413. We are having a post-mortem of the just-ended 65th edition of the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair, and I'm joined virtually by ZITF Company Chairman, Busisa Moyo. We also have ZNCC Chief Executive, Christopher Mugaga, as well as Professor Gift Mugano, an economist, and I have another economist in studio, Dr. Nyasha Kaseke. Star FM, good evening. Star FM, hello?
Hello.
Hello, yes, are you through to Star FM? Go ahead with your contribution.
Thank you. So, my name is Dr. Kagondo, and I would just like to ride on what Professor Mugano said. We serve together on the Trade Board. And the point is, so ZITF, the main event, is the big event. But what is the build-up to the ZITF? So we hear about the ZITF only in April. And that's why some will tell you it's a bit of a ritual or whatever they'll say. But it is at Zimtrade, for example, you have supporting activities, the She Exporter, the Eagle's Nest, and other activities that then build up to the main exporters conference. So my challenge perhaps to see the CEO is to say, what other supporting events can you have prior to the main ZITF? Perhaps follow the devolution concept, decentralize the provincial trade fairs before you get to the main event. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that contribution, Dr. Kagondo. Let's take another caller. Star FM, good evening. All right, so the number is 0772-162-651. Alternatively, you can use 0714-414-413 as we dissect the just ended 65th edition of the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. Star FM, good evening. Yes, could you please speak up? I'm struggling to hear you. I'm not sure if you can hear us.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Just a quick contribution. My own assessment of the ZITF, I think, is just a profit maximization to economic development or something that can trigger economic growth. It is paid by Mr. Samoa.
Why do you say so, sir?
Yeah, because there's nothing material that has been coming from the ZITF.
All right, we are trying to reconnect with our three guests and we will hear their views regards that. Star FM, good evening. Star FM, hello?
Evening, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. You're through to Star FM. Go ahead with your contribution.
Mine is more on the positive side. I think most of us, what we can do is criticize, but look, the ZITF is the biggest platform that we have so far in our economy, where business people can make this business deal. But then I think onus is also on the business themselves to come together and gather themselves to be able to deal, because what the ZITF can do, and I want to just give them kudos for just keeping this thing running and giving Zimbabwe a platform to. But the owners at the end of the day is up to the business people, the companies, the innovation that we bring as gift to the trade field. But in itself, I think it has played a good part in ensuring that the platform is there to market ourselves internationally. The platform is there, and which is the key thing that they can do. Anything else is an added advantage. So kudos to the CEO, kudos to the ZITF for just getting up there, despite the changes economy, the platform, and they're the biggest platform where businesses can meet and come up with these deals. But let's look at the companies. Are we then delivering? Because you can't expect ZITF to do everything, to bake the cake and to feed you. No, they've given you the platform. It's up to the different entities and institutions that we have to deliver there.
All right. Thank you very much for that valid contribution. Let's take more calls on 0772162651. And Professor Mgano, what do you make of these contributions coming through from the listeners?
Linda, can you summarize because I was cut off?
All right. So we had Dr. Kagondo, who said he was with you on the Zimtrade board, and he was, I think, buttressing on the point that you made earlier on. And we had another listener saying that ZITF has just become a profit maximization forum with nothing tangible or nothing material coming out of it. And then the third caller was commending, I think, the strides that the ZITF company and other stakeholders such as the ZNCC have made in creating that premier platform, saying that the onus is on the business community to ensure that they leverage and derive maximum benefit from that. But I'll take another caller before you respond. Star FM, good evening.
Hello, Maswera.
Taskwera Maskwera mapinda mchirongwa taure zvenyu.
No, tete zinyangori kwechete ndoda kamukadzi kamuruku chete.
Sorry zvenyu izvo hatikwanisi kukubatsirai nazvo manje, mafoni pasiripo. Star FM, hello. Star FM, good evening. All right, Star FM, hello.
Hello.
Yes,
good evening, Linda.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm very fine, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. You can go ahead with your contribution.
Thank you so much, Linda. I'm very much impressed by the contributions that we are getting from the panel, but I would like to weigh much weight on what Professor Mgano has just said. I think our problem is probably into the translation of what has been happening at the ZITF at national level. You see, we always get to experience these trade shows time and again. Yeah, to find and get real value at national level.
All right. Thank you very much for that contribution, sir. So I will come back. I will summarize again, as we had lost our connectivity with Chris Mugaga. I will summarize what our listeners have said. Welcome back, Chris. Chris,
thank you, Linda. Thank you. I'm back.
Awesome. So we've just had those 4 callers. The first caller is Dr. Kagondo, who was on the Zimtrade board with Professor Mgano, talking about the need to ensure that we get investments and trade deals that equate to the size of our economy. And then the second caller said that the ZITF is just a profit maximization event where nothing tangible or nothing material comes from. Our third caller was commending the ZITF company and other stakeholders, including yourself, for this brilliant platform, which he said that the onus is on the business community to ensure that they derive maximum benefit, but the stage has been set, and just commending the stakeholders there. And of course, the last caller I had commending again what has been done by ZITF, but saying that it needs to translate to the national level. And I will ask for your views around those calls, as well as from Professor Mgano.
Thank you, Linda. It's always important to confirm if I'm audible again.
Yes, you are. Very loud and clear.
Thank you so much. Yes, I think what's so significant is always to have context on issues. It's important. I listened to what you just brought from listeners, quite interesting, refreshing perspectives. If you recall, I think I said one of the very, very serious challenges facing this market, it is the perception risk. So once perception risk is so thick and catatonic the way it is in Zimbabwe, the FDI numbers can show So when we are going to trade fair, representing Chamber of Commerce, one of the structural underlying challenges I'm very aware of dealing with private sector every day. Businesses in Zimbabwe are not talking to each other. Just by a mere perusal of the import bill of this nation, you can see that insatiable appetite. Yes, it can be justified because competitiveness issues, they push up cost of producing locally. It's an issue. To be real practical, I visited a stand for University of Zimbabwe, doing quite a lot of good stuff. What they are working on through their manufacturing, I think you know the innovation hubs, how they are coming up with manufacturers, and they already protected their products through the IPs. Then I spoke to 2-3 entrepreneurs who went through the University of Zimbabwe Innovation Hub. And their challenge was, we are not getting financing domestically. Then instantly I had to call the CEO of one of the big banks in the country. And good enough, I know a meeting is going to be held this week following that. Because according to that CEO, he was not aware of such challenges of young, brilliant minds doing their products through universities. So when you're dealing with, obviously, a trade fair, the ecosystem of the agenda should transcend from FDI, domestic investment itself. And like I said, the perception risk for any traveler who would understand the perception the world has towards Zimbabwe. Just to correct that perception, if you put $1 billion figure, I tell you it will be multi-billion. Because what attracts investors into a market is when they feel safe that their funds will come. Do you know sometimes if investors are go to a country which is not safe and they put 10 billion, in the short term it might look like they've done well, but in the sustainable mood, it might not be sustainable. So I can assure you that my interaction with a number of private sector players and foreigners, it had shown a gap domestically, a gap which can be filled by Zimbabweans, because I gave you a picture of the import bill, but if I also give you a picture of small, medium enterprises who needs to internationalize, to scale up. And after meeting Uganda Investment Authority leadership, which I was privileged to do at the ZITF, we are planning even a trip to go and understand Uganda market. What is it that we can carry to Uganda? So when we are to look at the matrix of what makes a successful trade fair, it ranges from the FDI deals you can deal with, the foreign investment, the domestic investment. How many producers of this particular product are now aware that University of Zimbabwe is producing cooking oil and we can work with them? The financiers within the market, when they are looking for somewhere to park their money through loans, do they know there are a lot of people who are doing well? ZITF will provide that platform. So when you are doing analysis, it's important to have that whole holistic matrix. I think it will give you a very healthy picture. Thank you.
All right. And Prof. Mugano, you've heard the submissions there from Chris. Welcome back, Busisa. Busisa, the ZITF company chairman, rejoining us now. We took some calls and I've just asked the other two gentlemen to give their responses or their views towards the comments we've had. Now, Professor Mugano, what do you make of what Chris has said and also responding to the concerns or the issues raised by our listeners? Prof. Mugano, are you there? All right, I'll take some more callers. Star FM, good evening. All right, it's 0772162651, 0714414413. Dr. Kaseke, your views towards the comments that we've had from our listeners. One saying that ZITF is just a profit maximization platform with nothing material or tangible coming from it. Another listener calling on the ZITF company and stakeholders to enhance or to increase the supporting events that happen as part of the fair, and some others also. I think there was one that was talking about the need to ensure that whatever happens at ZITF translates to the national level. But before you respond, let me try another caller. Star FM, hello. All right. So yes, Dr. Kaseke, you can respond as we await more callers.
Thank you very much, Linda. If you look in terms of being a platform, it's not a thing that we can realize tangible benefits overnight or during that 1 week that we are having the ZITF. We are having at least 30 countries in Zimbabwe for the ZITF, where we can actually maximize on the issue to do with our value chains, whatever we are able to produce in Zimbabwe, we can export to those countries. And by having those platforms, by having those countries here, this makes it very easier. By having between 37 and 65 international exhibitors, this really shows that even the international community is concerned about what we are doing in Zimbabwe. And they can also tap in terms of what we are able to produce here in Zimbabwe and take to those countries. And this can now improve even our value chains with those countries, with those exhibitors that have come to Zimbabwe. All these things can result in positive developments in terms of whatever we are producing. If we could look in terms of our ZITF, there was an extra aspect that I've said that this was for the first time the rural industrialization, which was there. And this actually gives a platform in terms of those who are producing in the rural areas to say who are the other markets that we can also maximize on. And therefore, yes, we may want to look in terms of positive deals which brings money within the week, but there are other plus that we can have outside the 1 week of the ZITF. Hence, we need to have these platforms actually continuing, because people, if they are seeing ZITF, they are seeing in terms of marketers who goes there to sell the products. That is not the actual intention of what the ZITF is. Creating a platform for networking, for improving value chains, for improving suppliers, for improving the market. Thank you.
All right, let me take some more callers before I bring in Busisa back into the discussion. Star FM, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, are you through to Star FM? You can go ahead with your contribution.
Thank you very much. My name is Professor Chiwije. Right, we can't really say that ZITF is not very relevant to Zimbabwe. But the issue is, it is not what we want, ZITF. We want something which we can call a production fair, where the production, where various countries, China and all these other countries, they come here. We share technology. The problem of Zimbabwe is about production and not market. Thank you very much.
All right, and an interesting contribution there. And Prof. Mugano, I know this is something that you've passionately spoken about on this show on numerous occasions, the issue of production. And earlier on, Chris spoke about that, that even when we talk about the value chain, value proposition, to what extent are the local exhibitors exhibiting things that we're manufacturing locally? How would you respond to this last caller, Professor Mugano? Prof. Mugano, can you hear me? All right, I will pose the question to Busisa. I'm not sure if you heard that last caller. The last caller saying that the issue is not about markets. Zimbabwe, that's not our issue. Our issue is around production. And the caller saying that they would want to see more of a production fair that promotes innovation and what have you. How would you respond to that, Busisa?
Well, Linda, I can now hear you. If you can come to me, I'm not.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Okay. So I hope you can hear me now. I'm saying the last caller saying that the issue, the Zimbabwean issue, as far as is not around the markets, and the caller was saying that they would want to see a production, a fair that promotes a production, so to speak, saying that our problem or the issue that we have is around little to no production. How would you respond to that?
Right. Can I pick it?
Yes, Prof. Mugano, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so I will address this one and also the previous question which you asked me. My apologies, I was hearing but I could not respond. So the starting point in terms of the performance of ZITF, I think let's make it very clear. ZITF is an important fish pond for investment and trade. It's a very important platform which you must protect and you must defend, but make it work. The contribution made by Brian, Dr. Akagondo, my colleague, very important. And also the submission to say we want to make it work, striking the big deals. Right. For me, while I'm working on that and linking to production, I think the ZITF must never be an event. It must be a process which continues to work in between during the course of the year up to ZITF, particularly focusing on how we can prepare our traders, our players, our actors to yield value from ZITF. The meeting of a week should now then be a meeting where everyone is going to harvest from the pond. What am I saying? I would die to see where ZITF is the working committee. I don't know, the chairman can correct me if it is there. Working with the critical line ministries, private sector, and various industry associations, preparing them for that important event. What do you have? What are we going to showcase? Who is coming to join to exhibit in Zimbabwe from outside the country? And what are we going to be showing them? So the preparedness is very important. At Zimtrade, we have various programs, Next Year Exporters, Eagle's Nest, where we prepare our young people to go and export in DRC trade fairs. So when we go to DRC, when we used to see Zimtrade going to the DRC trade fairs, they were not just going there, but they already prepared the people to go there. Next Year Exporter, women who are going to be exporting. And these are one of the critical flagships for Zimtrade. So this actually addresses the production. We have devolution programs at Zimtrade, which we were advising Zimtrade, where in each province there are export clusters which are being established to go and exhibit wherever Zimtrade is going to be exhibiting. So I would want to edge the same for Zimtrade, for the data today. Might want to look at the model which was being used by Zimtrade, Schools at Home, and even having MOUs with Zimtrade would also add value in terms of sharing knowledge. If you go to a competition match like ZITF without production, like what the professor was saying, you are going to lose the match. Remember, at ZITF, you're also inviting companies from outside the country to come and compete with you. So you might see, Chairman, you might want to do an analysis to say how many deals were secured with the external suppliers, and what does it mean from a balance of trade point of view. It might show you exciting or surprising stuff, which might actually injure the local industry. So I want to stop there for now, but I want to say ZITF is an important platform which cannot be wished away. But whatever we are saying, we want it to work. We want to hear big deals, right? And we want to see industry rising up. We want to hear how many jobs were created as a result of the trade fair. Over to you, Linda.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Mugano. Let me take some more calls. Star FM, good evening. All right, so the numbers are 0.
Sorry, Linda, do you mind, Linda?
Yes.
Linda, do you mind if I come in? Because,
all right, okay.
Because
yes.
I've been listening for a long time. I don't know.
Yes, sure. Yeah. You can come in.
I think we need... thank you, Linda. I think we need to be realistic. This is just a trade fair. And we as trade fair company also, we don't want to get big heads and think that we can solve all the problems in trade. Zimtrade, these people that are being groomed by Zimtrade, which Dr. Mugano is talking about, they put on one of the best displays. They actually won an award. That's what ZITF does. We amplify, profile the products of various programs that are done by CZR, by ZNCC, by Zimtrade itself, so that we project those products. We don't want to overreach. ZITF will never, Dr. Mugano, be grooming companies for production. That is not our mandate. But what we must do, which I accept the challenge, is to find out those companies that are up and coming, startups, and we also have the Innovators Forum, where now we have investors that sit there whilst young people make pitch. Old Mutual is there, NetBank is there, to invest in their ideas. So we are doing that by providing a small window of a platform. National Economic Consultative Forum, on the other hand, is an existing institution for dialogue throughout the year. So if we want conversations throughout the year about development and so on, they can happen in these other institutions. And then we harvest them at ZITF, profile them, project them to the rest of the world. On statistics, I've already accepted the challenge. Can we improve the statistics? You bet you. We can improve the statistics by, collecting certain data points like the things that you've mentioned. One of the people that have completed the survey has already mentioned this is a survey that's available for inspection. We just need more data points on it. Has confirmed that they struck a deal with Belarus. I know a company that's in car sales that secured an order for 1,000 cars. They've not yet filled in the survey. I called the gentleman. I said, you made a good report, but I don't see you on the survey. He says, Mr. Moya, I had 4 sales reps at my stand. I need them to summarize the figures that that they got so that I can fill in the form. So first of all, on the data and statistics, totally agreed. I'm data driven myself. The institution, we want more data. I've already reported that about 3% of the respondents so far recorded deals of 10 million. Of course, remember that the trade fair is not an exclusive, because we've been criticized. You want the big deals, but we've also been criticized to say, well, this is for big business. NRZ can sign a deal for 400 million. That's fine. But what about Mainingi, who is at the ZITF and also on these and does this bidware that ladies put on? Well, those deals are in the order of $4,000 or $5,000. That's significant. So we don't want to be exclusive as ZITF. We also want to be inclusive, which is why our data is also showing that there are deals at all levels, and we've got various categories. 10 million. We've got some. I think it's about 8% of respondents so far. Deals between 1 and 5 million. So, we need to accept this mix. I know we are hungry. I know we are angry about wanting to develop faster, but let's be realistic to build this up. First of all, Dr. Mugano is a researcher. He understands baselining. We are creating a baseline of data. From here, we can then assess in 2026 and have a comparator and say, right, this is where the direction that the data is taking. So I think all these are accepted, but let's not create an omnibus trade fair that tries to solve all the problems in 1 week. No, we want to rather link up with other institutions. ZNCC put on they had an MOU that was signed with FCCI. I don't know whether my brother Chris mentioned that. The India delegation, we had 12 high-powered delegates from India. They signed an MOU. That's where we want it, because those are live businesses. They can follow through. That's the business of following through on their particular sectors. So I think we are not. VIDA was looking at the investment side. So I think let's be balanced as we seek solutions. Let's be rather relevant, Linda. We can't choreograph and tell people what to say, but I just wanted us to have a little bit of a context as to what ZITF is. It's not an omnibus institution. It's not a silver bullet.
All right. Thank you very much for that clarity, Busisa. They are saying that ZITF is not exclusive, but it is inclusive, accommodating the small to medium businesses and the larger corporates and so on and so on. Let me take some more calls before I come to Dr. Kaseke. Star FM, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. You can go ahead with your contribution.
Okay. I think my take is that the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair is a platform like all these guys was about issues the trade and taking it so. But I'm wondering, my political parties exhibit ZITF, what do they produce? What do they trade? Kana tikangeta vurira party A kuno exhibitor. Part B, C, D dzikazengetsoda ku exhibitor. Munodzitendera here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that contribution. I will ask Busisa to respond. Let me take some more callers. Star FM, good evening.
Yes, Linda, good evening.
Mapina mchirongwa tawareshenyi.
And I want to respond to Kuna Professor of our issue is not about market, it's about production. Worry right is all, but think also we need the market to absorb my products and other processes. So I think Ndopanoya ZITF kuti taakushowcase maproducts mashoma acho atinawo so that we create the market inoita absorb maproducts atopurchase. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'll take my last caller in this round. Star FM, hello. All right, so Busisa, I'm not sure if you heard those contributions that came. If you'd like to respond, or maybe we can...
Yeah, Linda, thank you. Thank you very much. I got that. In terms of political parties, I think they're talking about, the ZANU-PF stand, which was in Hall 5. ZANU-PF has programs in the SME sector. And the big chunk of what they had were programs that they are running as a political party to promote SMEs. Again, as I said, we are inclusive. If Party A and Party B also has programs to develop people that are in production, we don't prohibit. It's a Zimbabwean trade fair, all inclusive. The people that come, ZNCC, Zimtrade is also grooming people. Small entrepreneurs in Gwanda doing honey, all sorts of products. They also had several SMEs in their stand. The British stand also had companies that they are grooming within Zimbabwe. So this is exactly what Trade Fair is about, to profile. And if somebody is profiling very good products, impactful products, they are certainly most welcome. There is no, we are not exclusive, we are inclusive. So that's my answer. Production, I think it's a balance. We must avoid sweeping statements. It's not the market, it's production. No, well, some companies are looking for markets. So we need to answer the question of market by inviting foreign delegations. Some companies are looking for retooling. So we invited Indian companies that sell machinery, equipment. Some companies are looking for technological alliances. So we invited a Japanese professor, Professor Funibashi, to share on some of these patenting, protection, production systems. He's worked with the giants like Toyota and the Japanese experience, which is very relevant to us. So there are different things that we are trying to answer. Rural industrialization was held for the first time, this ZITF. But one other thing that came out very clear, Linda, which I wish to share with the listeners, is we have a big gap between institutions of higher learning and research organizations like Research Council of Zimbabwe, CSIR, and industry. There's a big divide. The industry is not innovating enough. The institutions of higher learning are frustrated because they're coming out with these ideas which they cannot commercialize. And the Vice President Chiwenga was quick to point out that industry needs to organize fora with your CAT Chinoi University of Technology, your HIT Harare Institute, Bulawayo Polytechnic, National University, NAT, Midland State University, all these universities that are researching innovations, solutions, not just product innovation, but value innovation, process innovation. They are doing a lot of work, but that work is not filtering through to industry. And we are losing. Some of our brightest minds are not finding their way to be embedded in the ordinary course of developing new products, inventing new products to make our productivity. It's not just about production, it's also productivity, the rate at which you produce, the scale at which you produce. So I think Zimbabwe is handicapped at the moment, and we need to solve that problem. I want to submit one more thing, Linda. We agreed this ZITF, in line with where Dr. Mugano was talking about, must be ongoing, an ongoing event. No, we can't have an ongoing event. What we have done is we have agreed to compile a compendium of resolutions from each and every discussion that was held, and submit that to the NECF and the Office of the President and Cabinet so that there is follow-through. In that compendium, we have to highlight which are the institutions in government or private sector organizations that will be responsible, or Circle 1, as we call it in execution management, Circle 1 of getting these resolutions done. So if we say rural industrialization, or if we say the linkage between research and industry, who is going to make sure it happens? So We are going to talk to Research Council of Zimbabwe, my good friend Dr. Patson Chikudza. We're going to talk to Professor Jimbo, and we're going to talk to CZI and ZNCC as NECF and bring them together in a forum. So that's how the follow-through is going to happen. So ZITF at the end of this week will submit that compendium or that compilation of resolutions on what to do, follow-on items and follow-through items. This is just to help the process so that we don't become a talk shop and we actually follow through on resolutions.
Thank you very much, Busisa, for that clarity and giving us those insights. And I can tell you that so many callers want to get through, but we are about to end our show. And in case you've just joined us, this is the discussion we've been having, a review of the 2025, the 65th edition of the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. And I'm joined virtually by ZITF Company Chairman, Busisa Moyo. We also have ZNCC Chief Executive, Christopher Mgaga, as well as Professor Gift Mugano, an economist, and Dr. Nyasha Kaseke, an economist. I'll be kind and take just one last caller, before I go back to my guests to get their parting remarks. But Dr. Kaseke, before we do that last round of the concluding remarks, another assessment has been that some of our parastatals, despite their struggles, dominate the exhibition compared to manufacturers. I would like to hear your comment on that, but before you do, let me try and take these last two callers. Star FM, hello. All right, Star FM, good evening. Star FM, hello.
Hello, Linda.
Mushe, mapinda mchirongwa taure zvenyu.
I would like to respond to the last caller. It's not the responsibility of the ITF. Yende inomanikidza party to uya kunoki wewe uyaine party yenyu mu executive for the ITF. And also ZITF ine programs akawa plus ine nhoroondo. This is right now. But do we have a political party? We don't have. So it's not the responsibility of the ZITF to come and say, no, we need the CCC to be here, we need you to be here. ZITF, Yakamacheta, Janagati, Kana Muchida, we are immense. And so it's not the responsibility of the ZITF. I'm responding to the last call on actually the ZITF in my
No, tinotenda chizvikuru necontribution yemaita. And I believe that ZANU-PF as the ruling party, it is imperative for us to know the programs and policies that inform the national policies that we have. And we did see at that official tour on the day of the official opening, the tour of the ZANU-PF stand, which Busisa said was Hall 5. We did see the two leaders touring the stand of economic development and empowerment within ZANU-PF, the stand of the mines and energy development of the party, lands and agriculture, women affairs, and so on and so on. So we must know the programs and policies that the ruling party is running, which then obviously informs our national policies. But as we end the show, Dr. Kaseke, what do you make of all this? What are the lessons learned? What needs to be done moving forward as you also respond to the question that I had asked you around the issue of struggling parastatals that dominate the exhibition compared to manufacturers?
Okay, I want to consolidate what has been said by the last caller. We have said that to go there and exhibit in our ZITF, it's your willingness to go and participate there. If you don't want to go and participate, then there's no way people can know you that you are participating. And now, in terms of the takeoff, what I can say is that I think we need to compile more data, as we know that the ZITF, its benefits or its challenges cannot only be realized in 1 week. There are other multiple benefits to come. Hence, we need to make sure that it continues existing as a platform so that the country can continue enjoying these benefits.
Thank you very much. Professor Mugano, what are your parting remarks? What needs to be done moving forward?
Thank you very much. I wanted to say that ZITF is a critical platform for marketing in the markets for your products. I would want to add by saying, and want to push back to my brother Busamo, that we need more, demanding more. We want to see more deals. So when we speak, it's out of the desire to see more positive change. I like Samuel's last comment that we are going to follow through. And I think that was my point I was trying to say in submission, that let it not just then become so active here that which let us see some kind of code through the course of the year to prepare ourselves for ZITF and to win big. Of course, being mindful of respective mandates of various organizations. Yes, I would also want to challenge in various government departments and ministries to say that they have a lot of work to do to make ZITF work. It is not only the role of board and management of ZITF. ZITF is a platform, but all the cylinders must work. I submit. Over to you.
Thank you very much. And Chris, CEO of the ZNCC, what do you make of the contributions that have come? What needs to be done moving forward?
Yeah, I think in summary, I told you as we started the program that Chamber of Commerce being a shareholder to ZITF, obviously we've got platforms we use in case we have our own grievances. Remember, ZITF is an institution which holds these annual general meetings. Outside the annual general meetings, the platforms we engage also to look at what happens. I know there's a lot we can work on improving, but at the same time, we also celebrate the small gains we've been making throughout using the ZITF platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. And Busisa, your parting remarks as a ZITF company chairman, what can we expect in 2026? You've already touched on that compilation that will come through. Initial reports being that deals to the tune of $10 million have been realized from this just ended fair. But what are your parting shots, Busisa?
Thank you very much, Linda. First of all, thank you for inviting me to the program. I want to really express my gratitude to the patron of ZITF, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, and also to thank our shareholders, Bulawayo Agricultural Society, Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce, and the Bulawayo City Council, who are the shareholders. It's a 50-50 partnership between government and private sector. And we want to continue providing that platform, that nexus of discussion between private and public sector. The ZITF wants to go from strength to strength, both in tech, in IT. We are developing our site. We have managed to secure one of the deals that was concluded at ZITF is a $12 million deal. By the way, I didn't say 110 million transaction. I'm saying 3% of respondents have reported that they have signed deals worth 10 million or above 10 million. ZITF itself signed a term sheet with a company to develop a retail shop on part of our grounds at the ZITF this year. We are also encouraging more and more companies to use the trade fair as a platform to sign deals, as colleagues have been saying, to actually consummate transactions. If you don't want to wait for ZITF and you want to get on with it, that's fine. But ZITF is such a platform. Multilateral institutions, development institutions and the like to sign these big contracts, embassies with huge programs to launch them at ZITF for maximum amplification and profiling. This is what we provide. It's the loudest platform in Zimbabwe. It's the loudest platform that you get in Southern Africa because no other event in Southern Africa attracts 30 countries to exhibit. I submit, Linda.
Thank you very much. And there you have it, the show that we had tonight. And it is my sincere hope that we will be able to host Zimtrade CEO Alan Majuru in the near future, who is also Commissioner General of the Zimbabwe Pavilion at Osaka 2025, to hear what Zimtrade is doing and the exploits of the nation at Osaka 2025. But allow me to thank my guests, ZITF Company Chairman Busisa Moyo, as well as ZNCC Chief Executive Officer Christopher Mugaga, economist Professor Gift Mugano, as well as Dr. Nyasha Kaseke, who is in studio, another economist. And many thanks to all the listeners that came through via our phone lines. And we will continue the conversation. I am at Linda Muriro across all social media platforms. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being part of the show.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you to my colleagues, Gift Mugano.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kaseke. Thank you. Until next time, it is goodbye for now.
You've been listening to Muriro on Monday. Join us again next time on Star FM.